Boom! Boom, baby. Boom. What's up, everybody? Yes, we're back. Welcome to another episode of Barstool Parlay. As always, I'm your host, Austin Froberg. Raw takes, no apologies. And today, we got our favorite guest host, DJ Cray.
What's up, everybody?
Joining us.
How you guys doing? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, dude. I'm doing fantastic. Coming into Barstool unprepared, I see. Nothing to drink. Wild stuff, man.
Yeah, man, I just got the baby, so no drinking for me tonight.
Barstool Parlay without a drink. Come on.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
Dang guest.
You know, in reality, so if you're gonna have guests on, you should be mailing me some alcohol for me to have of my choice.
Let me just wrap this up real quick in a UPS box, ship her over to you.
Yes, sir. I come with a rider, bro. It's common, bro.
But we are excited to be back today, guys, and I keep forgetting to give David a shout out. I know you guys have noticed that the intro music to the show has changed, and I keep forgetting to tell you guys that David is responsible for the new intro music. The new intro and extro music that we do is made, created, and produced by David Watkins. So shout out to him. Love the new setup for the show with the new sounds and everything. So shout out to you for that. Appreciate it, brother. But yeah, I figure I had to give you a shout out, man. I keep getting on these videos and then I'm posting them and I'm like, oh my god, I forgot it again. I'm like, these people are gonna be wondering, man, where'd this awesome song come from? And I'm not even telling them.
Well, thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
So yeah, we're excited to have David back. Guys, if you haven't seen the last video we did with David, make sure to go check that out. Talking about live venues, from sports to music to everything else, and how the whole beer problem is going to affect everything moving forward. It's an awesome video, a lot of info there. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. And as always, guys, like, subscribe, and share the video so we can keep getting content out there. Help us grow the channel. And turn notifications on. Turn the notifications on so you can see when all the new content's coming out so you don't miss good episodes with cool co-hosts like David, like this one. Makes sense. I don't know. But so today, guys, what we're getting into is we're getting into a topic that I've been hot about for a while, something that I've been just really been bugging me for years, which is the whole direction of this political correctness and everybody getting offended about everything and everybody just being soft about everything. I mean, like, I look at like kids in high school and college and stuff now, and I think back when I was there, and it's just the stuff that offends people now is just mind-blowing. Comedians can't go on stage because every joke they tell is offensive to somebody. They're getting sued. I mean, thank God for outlets like Netflix, because they encourage people to be controversial. They were like, hey, if it's funny, throw it out there. Tell us what you think. But I mean, other than that, I mean, you can't do anything now without getting offended. I mean, I know that every show I do on my channel and the takes that I have, somebody's probably getting offended, and I'm just waiting for all the misspelled hate mail to come in every time I do a video. So, I mean, what's your take on it, man? Like, what have you observed?
Well, everybody's entitled to their opinion in any which way they find sense. But regarding like a threshold of what hurts your personal feelings in comparison to maybe some other people, there's a big difference nowadays, and I can entirely agree with that. Sometimes people need to take a joke. Some people need to understand. I think the biggest thing in all of it is perspective, right? You know, like for me, for example, you know, I tend to have dark humor here and there, but in reality, like for me, somebody like me, it's just a joke to me. I know it's not real, and people can say that, you know, well, you don't understand if this may have, you know, what if you had a loved one or something, like let's say like a disease or something, right? Where you know, you may not, you know, understand how it feels for somebody to, you know, have a family member go through this or something like that. You know, like there's plenty of, I don't know, for example, you know, cancer jokes and references and stuff like that. I hate cancer. I fucking hate it. I DJ Relay for Life. I've been involved in many cancer awareness events. I've had people, personal family members that have passed away of cancer. But if I see it, I'll use the term, like this game is cancer, and this is cancer,
Yeah.
Getting into, something irrelevant. But I mean, it's kind of how I cope, with it through humor. And I think a lot of the PC movement and a lot of PC related content and material is going to come out of, jokes in particular. I think that's what this meeting is going to be highly based around. It's jokes here and there regarding one thing or another. But people have to remember, especially people that are very lighthearted and very sensitive to this kind of stuff, it's to some eyes it's just a joke, but it doesn't mean that we're downplaying the seriousness of an issue. And I think that's
100%.
and I think that's what a lot of people kind of forget, especially with those that are so easily offended.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't get it, man. I mean, even when people throw words around, just like gay, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's offensive. You shouldn't say that."
Mhm.
That's why is that offensive? I'm not talking about homosexuals. I'm not talking about people who are attracted to the same sex. I mean, and if you don't want me, and my whole thing with a lot of this political correctness stuff is people say, "Well, don't say that." And I'm like, okay, you don't want me to say that, that's fine. But where's the solution? My biggest problem with a lot of this is nobody hears a solution. Like I can say something like, "That's gay." Everybody, "Oh man, you can't say that. What are you doing?" Well, if you don't have another word for me to use to describe that, then how do you expect me to describe gay shit? I don't understand.
Use any other word.
And we're not talking about, like I said, we're not talking about, guys on guys and girls on girls, we're not talking about it, but when it comes down to things like guy cheerleaders and musicals, you don't know what it is about it. It's just gay. It's gay.
Yeah.
And people just get too offended. It's wild now.
There's like when we were in I don't know, when we were in like 5th, 6th grade, right? I could remember, we always said that. Just back in the school days, it's like, all right, we couldn't throw the F-bomb around everywhere. We couldn't say fuck this, fuck that. This is fucking stupid. This is fucking bullshit. When we were 5.
It was literally frick and gay. That was my entire vocabulary.
Yes. Like, bro, that's so gay. Like, whatever, dude. Like, that's
I
what
still have a habit to this day. I can't get rid of my old ways. Freaking A, man. Freaking
right.
A.
How does it make us any more wrong today than it made us when we were 10, 11-year-old kids going around saying, that's gay?
Because we're aware now, David. We're all aware of how hurtful these words and these accusations against other individuals can be. We're all aware.
Well, even though we never make accusations toward anybody in particular or any group of people.
Exactly.
When was that established, right? I mean, with the LGBT movement, look, here's the thing. LGBTQ is what I believe it is now.
Oh, dude, they took so many letters, they stole the alphabet. We want the alphabet back.
Right, and here's the thing. I have friends. I have many friends, even in the scene, who are gay, are lesbian, are trans, that identify themselves one way or another. It doesn't change.
I have gay friends.
And it doesn't change who they are as a human being in my eyes. And by all means, like if I ever went out and even like that's queer, right? People use that too. People use that back in the day. I had relatives that said that if I was in front of somebody and one of my friends was like, "Hey man, I heard what you said about this and that. Could you just maybe not use that when you're around me?" I'm like, "Okay, dude, my bad, brother. I'll definitely, no worries. I'm sorry if I offended you." Like people that make these kinds of, I don't know, jokes or references to any of this. What bothers me so much is the fact that once terminology like that is used, they just completely shut people out of their life. Like you say it once, shame on you. I'm done with you. You're done. people like us, and it's fair to say you and me are both more on the conservative, or not far right, but on the right side of things, especially politically.
Yeah.
We're people that will listen and understand. It's not like I'm going to say,
I'm a registered independent. Like I listen to everybody. Like, you know,
exactly.
and that's what I tell people. I'm like, if you want to talk to me about something, like talk to me. I'm super reasonable.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but it's like, you know, if I'm saying something, I'm not trying to offend anything because I don't have any prejudice against anybody. I don't have prejudice against race, you know, sexuality. I don't have preferences against anybody. Like if you're a jerk to me, if you're a big freaking butt face and a big meanie head to me, then I'm probably going to have some type of prejudice against you because I don't like you. Like you're a jerk. But if you've never done anything to me, I don't judge people just based on their own lives, whether that's race or sexuality or anything else. It's like until you physically or, you know, emotionally do something to me to upset me, I have no issue with you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think a lot of friends could probably speak for me to say that, you know, I'm very understanding. I go both ways when it comes to any argument. I mean, it's kind of why I decided to have this discussion with you now. You know, I'm a man of perspective, right? If I've never met you before, and if I ever use that terminology or anything like that may offend you or say something, I never knew you before, so it's not fair to me if you're, you know, if you're gonna immediately judge me off of basically just what I say, because I mean,
some huge blanket statement, and the perfect example about what you're talking about is like, you know me, I have a lot of African American friends,
mm-hmm.
Right? And one of my buddies, Joshua, in high school, totally fine, like encouraged me to say the N-word, like
mm-hmm.
like I was like, oh, that's my, like every day, totally fine. And somebody would see me saying that to him and be like, oh, dude, you're a racist piece of shit. Dude, you're so racist. How can you say that to somebody? I'm like, because we're friends and all his other African-American friends call him that. And he prefers that I call him that versus Joshua. So it's like, he was totally cool with that. My other friend, Jovan, he's not cool with that. He's like, listen, dude, like, I don't even like when black people call me that. I'm not okay with that. I don't like it.
So do you call him that?
Yeah. I don't use that around him. You know?
Exactly.
That's the whole thing. It's like, hey, if you don't like something I say, I'm not trying to be prejudiced against anybody. Don't judge me just based on something you overhear somewhere or some out of context statement. Judge me based on who I am. If I'm clearly hanging out, hugging this dude, and I call him the N-word and there's no backlash, then don't judge me as a racist because of our relationship and we're comfortable doing that because he was the same way as me. He's like, dude, I don't see race. And that's how he was. He's like, dude, you're my, and I'm your, and there was no, he's like, it doesn't matter who you are. If we're friends, that's what it was.
Right.
But, you know, like I said, other people, they don't like it. Like my buddy Jovan or my other buddy Robert, they don't like it. So I don't use it because I don't want to offend them or make them feel uncomfortable. And people don't do that. They don't know my backstory. They don't know your backstory. They don't know what's going on. They just hear something and they have to be offended for other people. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is, because if you want to say privileged white people or whatever, go for it. I'm not a huge buyer into the white privilege and all that. Like, I'm white. I've been broke. I've struggled. I've been poor. I've been harassed by cops. Like, I get that, yeah, there's a lot more rich white kids that have it better off, but hey, they have it better off than me too. So, but that's the whole thing is these privileged white people who usually are on the left. Sorry to admit it, guys. That's a fact. They're usually on the left who get offended for other groups of people. Well, it doesn't offend me personally, but how dare you offend these other fine people? And meanwhile, the other people who they're defending are in the background going, what are you talking about, dude? I don't care. I'm cool with this guy. Can you shut up and leave us alone?
Right. Right. You know, people amongst the PC side of things, I think that they have a good perspective towards some things. I won't lie. Like, they have their ideals right, and they have their morals right. But the problem is they try to put themselves on a pedestal for it. And when, you know, that's the big problem here is that when you try to put yourself above anybody else, just because somebody else's views go against your own, there's this big fight from the left and the right about, well, who has the higher moral code?
Go ahead, man. I'm just gonna grab a drink. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like, yeah, who's the more well-spoken? Who's, you know, who? I don't know. It's kind of hard to put into words, man. Especially being such a sensitive topic. Just the fact that treating everybody else the way you want to be treated, the golden rule, is key, right? And for especially when it comes across even the internet on top of that as well. When I can post a lot on I post a lot on other forums, especially, and I don't want to get too political with this video, but I get into political forums where I speak my mind and my perspective about how I see things, and I just want to have a nice, rational conversation / debate. And when I post something that's rational to argue about, when I post something that isn't targeting this person or the other person, just a general broad statement, very commonly the comment that follows is some kind of slandering, name calling, nothing to really bring to a debate.
100%.
And I find this mostly common in people that are pushing the PC narrative. And that's the problem that's kind of the problem I have about people that are really that way. Is just open your mind and just speak to me just like another human being, like I would speak to you.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man, is for me, like I said, I'm super reasonable. I'll listen to anybody's opinion, whether I agree or not. I'll listen to your opinion because I always believe that no matter how smart or dumb somebody is, you can learn something from somebody. They may have some bit of information that they could show you that's valuable to you, or some bit of information that could change the entire perspective of how you see something. And it really bothers me when people don't open their mind to anything, you know, because like you said, like politics especially, and I have the perfect example because like on my Facebook, I have a buddy of mine used to be one of my coaches, and he's an African-American dude, and he posts all this stuff constantly about Trump and how he should vote for Biden and Biden's the way to go and all this. And, you know, like, I'm not being offensive to him. I don't say anything. I'm just like, oh, dude, like, whoa, like, dude, I think you should, like, look at some stuff. Biden is clearly not the answer. Like, this dude has dementia and doesn't know what state he's in half the time. I'm like, dude, how can you sit there and support somebody like Biden when he's racist? He doesn't know where he's at. He talks about molesting little kids in his speeches, talking about rubbing lotion on his legs, and that's when he knew he liked little girls on his lap, and like all this stuff, and he's completely incoherent, and then just makes up facts, whether it's facts about gun deaths or facts about how he's endorsed by the the NAACP, and like all this stuff. And I'm like, you just throw all that out just because, well, he's a Democrat and Trump's racist and Trump's bad and this country's getting run into the ground. And I'm like, you know, I just post my opinion on there. I'm like, dude, I don't think that's the way to go. I don't agree with it. Here's the facts. Here's what I've seen with Trump. And instead of looking at that and say, hey, that's a good point. You know, unemployment is lower. The economy did go up, but I still don't like him because of X, Y, and Z. Instead of acknowledging the facts, you just like, I just get berated on his page by all the rest of his friends who are just like, oh, you're a racist piece of shit. You're a Trump supporter. You're this, you're that. I'm like, dude, I'm an independent, and you know me, I'm not even a huge Trump guy. Like, I like Trump, but I disagree with a lot of stuff he's done. And, you know, the people like you guys who are watching this channel, you see me rip Trump apart about the whole beer problem and how we've handled this pandemic and how I don't like the stimulus checks and the inflation and all the rest of this crap. You guys see me rip him apart. I'm an independent, but I'm sitting there going, hey, I got one candidate or the other. I know what this guy's done. I look at the economic facts. I look at the unemployment. I look at all this stuff, and I say, well, it's better than what this guy's done, so I'm going to support this guy. I'm like, yeah, maybe if JFK or Ronald Reagan or somebody was running, I wouldn't support either of them, and I'd vote for them probably. But my Trump and Biden, so I got to go with Trump. And, you know, you just get completely slandered and smashed by any opinion you have that disagree with people. If you disagree with somebody, you're racist, you're prejudiced, you're this, you're that. Nobody can just say, hey, like you said earlier, well, you're entitled to your opinion. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. If you have a different opinion, you're a racist, you're prejudiced, you're sexist, you're this, you're that. And it's terrible, man. People aren't open to anybody's opinion.
Yeah, and you know, that's the scary thing about it. It's almost like you have to actually try to manage your personal relationships with your friends based on what you see offline and online. Like, for example, you know, a lot of my DJ friends, people that are in the scene with me, have a lot of views that lean toward the left. And I don't necessarily particularly agree with all of those viewpoints, but I just look at it and I say, okay, that's what they believe in. That's their right, and they're more entitled to that right. But I'll also see those same people every now and then, completely slam their friends or at least their Facebook or other people with sometimes vocabulary and viewpoints and just accusations that kind of surprised me that I never expected to see in real life. But I would hate for me to post something that was, I don't know, pro-Trump, that any of these friends of mine might see and just be like, yeah, dude, I had no idea you were like that. Wow, you're actually a real piece of shit. When in reality, that's not who I was, or that's not even who you met at one point in your life.
Yeah.
So it's even with social media, you have to be careful managing yourself online and socially, because that kind of stuff that you don't like to talk about in real life because you're more so there for the moment to be with your friends, to take one post or something like that and put it on Facebook supporting your own beliefs, it's almost like you can't even really do that anymore without getting blamed by anybody.
And the thing that's sad is the fact that you can only not do that if you have anything that's not politically correct. That's even, like you said, leaning to a conservative viewpoint. If you can spew any socialist, liberal, anything out on the media, anything that's politically correct, and nobody will question it. Nobody will say anything. You'll get 2 million likes and you'll probably become famous. But you say one thing, just like you said, just a harmless comment like, hey, I'm pretty happy with the fact that the economy's been pretty good under Trump. And all of a sudden, the firestorm starts coming. You got to sit there and defend yourself, and you got 86 comments in 10 minutes. And people that you hung out with the weekend before, maybe you're not best friends, but you're like, oh, I'm cool with these dudes. Next thing you know, I can't believe I hung out with you. I can't believe we took a shot together. I can't believe I shook your hand. We're done. I'm blocking you. Don't ever talk to me again. I mean, it's just mind-blowing, man, the effect that people have. And it's like, and it's just wild because, even me, like you said, leaning on a conservative side, I sit back and people tell me about, Obama, and they tell me about Biden, and they tell me about all stuff, and I'm willing to sit there and listen to them and listen to their opinion, and you know what, maybe something I don't, and I'm going to sit there and listen to you. But, I don't sit there and get super offended just because you like Joe Biden. Yeah, you're going to post that on your Facebook, and I'm going to comment and give you my opinion. But I don't come at you sideways just because you like Joe Biden. You like Joe Biden, that's fine. Good for you. But if you're going to ask me, I'm going to give you my ass opinion. And he's like, well, why are you even commenting on this? I'm like, because it's on Facebook. You're on my news feed. I saw it. You're one of my friends, so I figured I'd give you my opinion. I didn't know that giving you my opinion was going to destroy your entire day, ruin your whole world, and literally have me sitting on the couch for 4 hours trying to defend my point to the point where I literally have to defend literal facts and send people screenshots of, this is the unemployment rate. This is what the economy's at. This is how many people are off food stamps. He did appoint a black general. Don't think he's racist. Have to continue to do all this stuff and literally post facts. And he go, well, that shit ain't real. Okay, that's not real, but the news that you hear, which is what's forming your opinion, is real. So my facts aren't real that aren't from news sites, but your facts are real that are from news sites. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and with that, it's a lot of this PC stuff. It's so hard to talk about being PC without, it has the word political in it. So it's hard to not bring politics into the whole problem. But I mean, it's, there's just so much out there now and so much power at people's fingertips to where they can kind of be this alter ego online to give themselves the power to talk about all the stuff that they want and kind of call people whatever the hell they want when they're online without any repercussions. And I don't know, it's just that it brings out really the dark side of people that I really wish I never saw. I mean, I'm the exact same I'm the exact same person online as I am offline when you see me in person.
100%.
I'm the exact same guy. I'm going to say the exact same thing.
That's what we hear. We raw takes, no apologies. I'm the
That's right.
same dude here that I am offline. I'll tell you exactly what I think now as I'll tell you if I see you on the street. I'm not going to sit here and be like, dude, I don't like Joe Biden. I think he's an idiot. Then see you on the street and be like, listen, Joe's really not that bad. I'm actually a Joe supporter, but you get more likes with Trump. I mean, I'm the same person. I am who I am. Take it or leave it.
Right.
No apologies.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, dude. I mean, especially when it comes to not even just your friends, but oh my goodness, complete strangers and stuff. The amount of hate that I see. I mean, I really don't spend as much time on the internet anymore as I used to because you never saw stuff like this years ago. When ever since all these different movements started coming out and stuff, you found out that, and I get it, right? I'll be the first guy to tell you, look, you got these movements going on, the Me Too movement, the LGBT movement, and all that. Completely supportive of that. I mean, if that's your cause and that's how you want to make a difference in this world, more power to you. Just don't. If there's people that have different views or even don't agree with your movement, don't take the time to show that kind of hostility that you're not to these 100%. People. Ignore them, move on.
And my funny thing about the movements and groups is like what type of person do you have to be to join a group? I'm going to join a group. That's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to go join a group, and we're going to have meetings, and we're going to make signs, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to join a group. Like, what type of person do you have to be to join a group? That doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, if you're fighting like world hunger, like, hey, I'm going to go join the Starving Kids Foundation, like, good for you. But all these people like, I hate the color purple, and we're going to join a group. No more purple. Let's take purple out of the rainbow. I'm joining a group. Like, oh my God. And like all these movements, just like the Me Too movement and like a lot of this stuff is, with a lot of these movements, what's funny about them is they're only valid when it's to the point that people want to make, which like we talked about, like I said, not trying to be biased, guys, but these are the facts. It's coming from the left. Sorry, but that's what it is. Like Me Too movement. When the left wants to play the Me Too movement and all this stuff, like with Trump, I just grab it. I just grab it, man. I just walk up and I grab it. But then when it comes to Joe Biden, who's actually now indicted on sexual assault cases, then it's, well, you can't believe everything everyone says. I mean, you can't believe everything. So it's like these movements are they're only used when it forms political points. It all comes back to these political points. And the Me Too movement was like, some of this stuff was, wild. When it first came out, you're listening to stuff. I mean, dudes just walking out, just dropping their junk on girls' desks. Look at it! And then, by the end of it, man, they got everybody. Like, they got everybody. Like, by the end of it, it was just bad Tinder dates. Like, by the end of it, it was just like, we went out, he was 15 minutes late, his car didn't start, he didn't text me for 2 days, his phone broke, and I didn't like the way that he wore his shirt. It wasn't ironed. I'm like, I think I was raped. What? No, stop it. Like they just started sounding like bad dates. Just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Shirt was wrinkly. I think he was a pedophile. I'm like, oh my God. Because when it first came out, I was like, holy crap, people do this stuff? Like people do this shit? And then, like I said, by the end of it, you're just like, oh my God, next. Like, oh, I can't listen to this anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't go to say that there have been things out of the Me Too movement, especially. I mean, that have been done for good and positive. It did.
100%.
It did bring awareness to the rape culture, and it really helped bring things down a bit. There were campaigns in the whole movement that were successful. And then there were also some that were just kind of overreaching where it was proven not to be true. Yep. And so you can pull positives and negatives out of damn near any situation, but I mean, you see even somebody like me that doesn't follow this movement regularly, just because I don't follow it and because I don't speak on it, doesn't mean that I don't support it in this way, that way, or the other.
100%.
But the moment I say, well, I don't really want to get into Me Too, there's people out there that are just like, well, why not? Do you not support people against rape? Do you support rape? No. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't want to be a part of it. You know?
And that's my thing. I'm like, hey, listen, I support the Me Too movement. I like if a girl's sitting at her desk at work and the dude just walks up and smacks her in the face with his junk, like, okay, I'm in. Like, yeah, let's convict this dude. I'm on your side. Women, we're gross. I'm on your side. But it's like, it's like I can't support your movement because you guys don't have a screening process. Like, you guys need a better screening process. Like, if you guys had a better screening process, I could fully, like, wear the T-shirt and the hats and hold the signs and be part of your movement. But I can't be part of your movement because there's no screening process. And like I said, you're trying to convict dudes for rape because they showed up at a date 15 minutes late with their shirt wrinkled. I'm like, if you screen out all the, like, bad dates and it's, like, just serious, like, holy crap, this dude did that, I'm in. But that's the problem with a lot of these groups. There's no screening. It's like everybody's in. It's like having a car group and this dude's like, well, I ride a motorized shopping cart. And you're like, you're in. Like, everybody gets in. I'm like, if everybody gets in, I can't support your movement because when these crazy stories come out that are, like, just wildly inaccurate and they're proven not to be true, I'm going to be the guy who's sitting there going, dude, you support this group? You support this stuff? I'm like, dude, it wasn't this one. I only liked the first 5 I heard. Like, I can't be that guy.
Yeah. And it's just, I really wish, I just really wish people would be more open to separate perspectives. I mean, that's the big problem with stuff like this, man, is people just.
There's no open debate anymore.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no open debate.
None. And I think, like, about to, listen, guys, I'm prepared for it in the comments. You want to get after me, like I said, raw takes, no apologies. But to go down a darker road here, where I already know the hate mail's coming in, a lot of this political correctness stuff is stemming from just the lack of common sense nowadays. Like, people just throw common sense out the window because it might offend somebody. Yeah, I mean, well, this is common sense. Everybody knows this. This is how the world works. But what if this guy doesn't like it? What if he thinks the world's green? Shouldn't he be allowed to think the world's green? I'm like, no, because it's not. Sorry, that's just common sense. He's wrong. I don't care if it hurts his feelings. He's wrong. The world's not green. There's a lot of different colors. My house is 7 different colors. It's crazy. There's 4 just in the background here. Like, do you think the world's green? Sorry, dude. You're an idiot. You're wrong. Sorry about that. But, I think this lack of common sense stuff really comes into the fact when we talk about, like we were talking about earlier, the LGBTQ, I think it is, community. How many different variations of this do we need? I mean, it's just really not realistic. And this is part of this. Everybody's offended now. Everybody wants to feel special. Everybody wants to be their own individual person. I'm special. I'm not part of a normal group. I'm like, everybody's trying to make their own group and their own set of humans, and I'm special. I'm sorry to tell you guys, some of you guys are special and some of you guys are not. Some people just fall in line with being a normal person. That's common sense. That's life. If you're a football player, you're a football player. If you're a basketball player, you're a basketball player. If you're straight, you're straight. If you're gay, you're gay. It is what it is. But well, I'm technically not gay. I just want to be a woman. Okay, well, if you're a dude who likes girls or likes guys, you're not like transgender. You're gay. There's already a word for that. You're gay. You don't have to like branch into your own separate thing of, well, I'm not technically gay. I'm this and I'm that. You're gay. And it's okay. I don't hate you for it. I don't dislike you for it, but it is what it is. Like, this is common sense. You're a dude. You like other dudes. You're gay. Just because you dress like a girl doesn't make you not a man. You're still gay. It's okay. You don't have to try to make your own word to make yourself special and stand out from everybody else. And that's what bothers me. It's the fact that everybody has to have their own individual. I'm different than everybody else. No, you're a human being like everybody else. And no matter what you do in your life, what your sexuality is, what your race is, it doesn't make you different. We're all humans, we're all men, or we're all women, and that's it. And it is what it is. And whatever you want to do with your sexuality is up to you. I don't care. It's your choice. But don't expect me to act like you're some special new breed of human that we've never seen before, because it's not true. Like, I'm sorry, but you're just wrong. You're a normal boy or girl human like all the rest of us. Your sexuality is a totally different conversation.
And I find a lot of these things being to where a lot of it is materialized to where people will categorize themselves based on what other people see and what you perceive yourself to be. Like, that's not who I care about. I don't care about who you are on the outside. I want to care about who you are is on the inside. You know, your personality, your traits.
100%.
And with that being said, I mean, you know, everybody is special in their own way. There's no reason for you to accent that. Let people get to know you, who you are, and you will be accepted based on who you are as an individual. You don't need to throw a title somewhere, this and that, based on either what you look like or what you believe or what you think about. Like, I don't care if Austin, I didn't care if you dressed up like a fucking girl. I don't care. We'd have this conversation anyways because I know who you are.
I probably get a lot more views, but
right. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, just be yourself, man. You don't have to force your opinion or your agenda or any of that on anybody. And that's where I find the problem being is when people feel the need to force their opinion, they do it in such a divisive manner. Divisive, I don't know how you say it. But but you divide yourself from other people, and that's where that, I don't know, you just try to ostracize anybody and anybody who may not agree with the way you think or the way you talk, but that's going to be anybody in the world that, you know, just may not agree with something that you do. Fine, whatever, throw them to the side and move the fuck on, right? You know, people may not, you know, people may see me as wearing, you know, my cray hat, right? You know, it's my brand, it's my logo, it's my name. I can wear this out on the street and I can go up to any one random individual and be like, hey man, what do you think of this hat, by the way? When I might just be looking for some advice on maybe making a different logo, adding some different colors to it, and people will just immediately jump to, okay, well, what is Craig? Oh, that's me. That's my DJ name. Oh, you're a fucking egocentric son of a bitch that believes whatever. That's not even what I was looking for. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's just I like to wear it because I take pride in my own brand. It's not like it's not like I'm going around to people in public places and being like, hey, look at this hat. Yeah, this is me. I got the money to afford my own merch and you don't. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
But people will take just something as little as this and just blow it up into a magnitude of something that's not even relevant. When you don't even give that person the time of day to explain themselves about it. That's my biggest problem. And I find this problem with people that are more particularly leaned towards the left and the people that want to preach the PC culture. That's where I find this problem being.
Yeah, and it's true. And like I said, guys, you know, this is raw takes. Not everybody likes it. And I'm sure there's going to be some people out there that watch the video that are on the left or on the socialist left, and they're going to sit there, oh man, these conservative, racist, sexist, just pieces of crap, man. But in reality, it's like, I'm sorry, guys, but that's the facts. Like, you don't hear conservative people come out and do this stuff. It's just not real. It's not the facts. Like, if conservative people are doing this, I do the same thing. Just like I bash Trump because I don't agree with what he did with the whole pandemic situation. It just doesn't happen. These are the facts. The left is where this stuff comes from. And like you said, for me, it just keeps centering around this common sense factor of like, just like, you know, these guys who's like, you know, they could look like me. They don't want to dress like a girl. They want to do that. I identify as a woman. I don't care. It's common sense, dude. You pull your pants down. You don't have lady parts down there. You're not a girl. And it's like, and think about your high school self. Think about your high school self. I mean, me and you were in high school. I mean, when you're in high school, especially say like a freshman, you're obsessed with girls. You're just like obsessed with girls. You'll take girls out. You'll say the wildest things like, oh man, dude, yeah, I definitely think a girl could beat the shit out of me. Like, it's just awesome. Like, yeah, you'll say anything just to agree with her so she'll like you. Because you're just hoping that maybe if I agree with everything she says, she'll touch it. Like, you just agree with everything. And it's like, could you imagine if this stuff was around when we were in high school to sit there and be like, dude, I got this awesome plan, dude. Today, we're going to go in the principal's office, tell them that we identify as women, and then we're going to go check out all the girls in the locker room, dude. We're checking them all out, man. It's like, it's literally, you've now opened freaking Pandora's box for all these horny, crazy high school kids to now just be sitting there going, I identify as a boy. Let's go see who has the biggest one. Who are you going to date, Emily? And all the guys going, oh, dude, we get to go and watch all the girls in the shower at gym class, man. It's going to be sweet. Like, it's just this whole Pandora's box of just craziness swirling around because of the lack of common sense of like, listen, if you want to pretend like you're a girl, that's fine. You do that on your own time, but when it comes to school, you still go in the boys' bathroom because when you whip it out, it's still there. Sorry. Like, you throw out common sense in scenarios like this, and you open yourself up to all these even bigger problems. And that's the problem, is a lot of these things that we're talking about, they contradict each other. Well, here's the Me Too movement. Hey, well, you know what's not good for the Me Too movement? All this, I can say I'm whatever I want. Because how many girls do you think are going to start getting raped in the next 20 years in high school in gym class? Because they're allowing guys in there, and a high school guy who has he's just sitting there going, oh, I can't take it. And he starts raping girls in the locker room, or tries to, just because he's allowed in there. I mean, we're just creating problems. It's nuts to me. It's mind-blowing, the lack of common sense that goes into these claims of all this crap. It's wild.
And as far-fetched as that ideology can sound, it can be a reality. And then if it ever happens, even the first case that happens, right? You know, you see it on the headlines, girl, you know, high school girl raped by guy who said he was a girl in the girls' locker room. I mean, it's far-fetched. It's a hell of an ideology, but it's not something that can be ruled out. And with these kinds of things that have been put in place, there are people that are sick and twisted enough to come up with things like those and make it happen. You know?
I mean, we got kids who come in and shoot up the whole school. You don't think there's going to be a couple of horny high school kids who are just going to try to rape some girls in between class periods? If you can come in with an AK-47 and mow down all your classmates, I think there's some crazy kids, the same kids who want to carry a gun. I'm sure there's some of the same mental caliber kids who are going to walk in there and be like, I don't want to shoot her. I just want to put it in. Like, it's getting dangerous. All this stuff, it's literally creating a very dangerous culture. It's, you know, it's not just the fact, like a lot of stuff that we're talking about with things being annoying and this is wild and just people are getting ridiculous. It's becoming dangerous in a lot of scenarios with things like this. It's starting to create a dangerous precedent and a dangerous culture, especially for kids in situations like this in high school and things. It's really becoming dangerous.
Yeah, and it creates a lot of confusion, man. Like, exactly, you could have a kid go to his principal and be like, hey, sir, Mr. Principal, I identify as a girl, and I take this extremely, extremely seriously, so I would like to have women's bathroom and locker room privileges because I don't like any of the guys. When in reality, somebody that is that sick and twisted, that can lie to somebody's face about that and all of a sudden get his own little kick or edge or whatever he wants off of relief by going to the girls' locker room every day, and nobody knows the better. You know, there's people that can think of sick shit like that. I mean, hell, people will say, well, you're the only people thinking about stuff like this. No, I'm just a deep thinker, and I can take these to this kind of extent to understand that there's an actual problem with that.
And that's the thing with a lot of things in society is people just want to look at things on the surface. They don't look beyond the surface. They don't think about the residual consequences of actions. They just look at something and say, well, as long as this person today in this present second isn't offended, everything's good. Okay, but what about the result of what you just did? What's going to happen not 5 minutes from now, 5 years from now, 5 days from now, 5 months from now? What's the residual effect of the decision you just made? And people don't like to do that because the residual effect's scary. And to kind of take it to a different note, you know, we're talking about, well, what if people are getting raped? You know, what if these things are going crazy? But think about it. Let's take it to a realistic standpoint. Whether you're a guy or a girl, high school kids want to get it in. It's reality. What happens? They throw parties at their parents' houses. They do it in a car. They find any place they can to do it. Well, let's not even talk about the crazy kids. What happens when I'm dating a high school girl? And I think this is going to be the realistic standpoint that's going to turn high school into a total just orgy 24/7. Because realistically, everybody knows like what the situation is. What happens when, you know, I come in, I got a girlfriend, and I come in and I tell the principal, hey, Mr. Principal, I'm a girl. I identify as a girl. I'm going to go to the girls' locker room in gym class day. He says, okay, I have the same gym period as my girlfriend. And we planned the whole thing out just so we could bang in the locker room. I mean, it's not like kids are going to sit there and they're not smart enough to figure out, hey, it's not just going to be the sick kids. It's going to be the normal kids who are in relationships or they're dating, or, you know, you got the slutty girls in high school and the slutty guys. I mean, it is what it is. We're going to figure out how to have consensual sex in high school by manipulating this whole freaking rule. And I think that's going to probably be the biggest problem, is the consensual sex of, hey, we found the loophole. We can just bang every day in gym because we can just identify as the other person.
You know, and it's crazy because, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, we could sit here and call this extreme.
Yeah, if 5 years ago, we wouldn't have believed this. If we seen this video 5 years ago, you've been like, dude, what are these dudes talking about? Like, idiots? Yeah, I'm sure that's going to happen. Oh, all right, dude. These guys are out there. Like, we would have never believed what we're talking about 5 years ago.
We wouldn't have. But, I mean, there's all these different things nowadays and perspectives to where it opens up thoughts like this, especially with realities that, you know, can be brought to light by, deep thinkers like ourselves. Like, you know, shit, hell, back in the day, right? Conservative Republic America, back in the 1960s and 70s, would they have ever thought people started dressing up like girls and stuff like that? No, they didn't think back in the day that that's the kind of world that we lived in. Men were men, women were women, men got married to women, women got married to men. But now, you know, now we're in the 2000s, and even probably even during the 90s, right, where, you know, gay marriage started becoming a thing, and, you know, gays, lesbians, all that started getting married together. People way back in the day, the mid-1900s, never would have thought that was a way of life of living. And, you know, times have changed, and as happy as I am for, you know, especially gays and lesbians and all that, allowing to get married without any prejudice or without having to fight the courts, like, I'm in total support of that.
Yeah.
There's things nowadays that have been brought to light, especially with these movements, that people now even have to start thinking deeper about. And you've got to realize that these problems could potentially arise 5 to 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah. And people, and like I said, you know, people, they just don't look past the surface on things. And one point that you brought up was like, you know, people wouldn't even imagine stuff back then. But it's like, you know, even the stuff where we got into the 2000s, like you're talking about with homosexuality and things, like, there really wasn't any consequences to that, you know? There's not really any to saying, hey, well, gays can get married. And it's like, hey, well, if you want to, you know, go do that, that's on you. That's up to you, between you and God and your spiritual beliefs and, you know, whatever you want to do, that's up to you. There really wasn't any consequences to things like that. It's just, okay, we're allowing dudes and girls to get married now. Versus, you know, something like this where, you know, we're not excluding a group of people from an activity. Now we're just letting anybody do whatever they want, thinking that if everybody does whatever they want, there's no consequences. You know, it's a transition from just saying, you know, something like, hey, well, African Americans should be allowed to vote. There's no consequences to that. African Americans should vote. They're people. Oh, well, gays should get married. Well, there's no consequences to that. They're people. They should be allowed to do what they want. But then when you start getting deeper beyond that into what's the structure of society, like, well, what's a boy? What's a girl? What's this? What's that? What's okay? What's not? Now you're getting into murky waters where there are actual drastic potential consequences for things like this. And like you said, that's, you know, some of the stuff that we're talking about right now is these wild consequences for some of these just lack of common sense things.
Yeah, and you know, as much as I support, you know, the ability to be a free thinker and believe in this and that, that's what America's for. You know, you're allowed to, you know, you're here in America to exercise that right, and I'm not a person that's going to try to take that from you, but I find it very common with the people that are moving towards these ideologies and beliefs. they're taking an inch and they're getting an inch with it, and they're taking it a mile, and then they start to ostracize everybody else out of society. Like, hey, if you don't believe in my cause, then fuck you. Like, you're a piece of shit in this world.
100%.
You're a bigot. You're a racist. You're a transphobe. You're a homophobe. You're whatever. And
100%.
And guys like us are just, and I'm sure a lot of other people in the world are just sitting back like, what the fuck?
Exactly, and that's the whole thing that I go into, where I'm just like I said, me personally, I'm Christian. Me personally, I don't believe in homosexuality because I'm Christian. To me, it's a sin based on my religion because it talks about it in the Bible. But does that mean that I have some ill will towards homosexual people? No, because that's their relationship with God, not mine. I'm not going to do it because of my beliefs, but I'm not going to push my beliefs onto you. And that's where people get this whole, well, if you don't think that gay marriage isn't a sin, then you're a bigot. I'm like, no, I'm not. Just because I don't believe in it doesn't mean I'm going to treat you differently because of it. I have friends who are atheists. I don't sit there and act like they're, wild or bad people just because they're atheists. That's their relationship with God, not mine. I can't be an atheist because I believe in God. I can't be homosexual because I believe in Jesus. I can't do that. But everybody just says, just based on my personal opinions for my own life, well, that makes me a bigot. No, it's not. I mean, that's like sitting there saying, like, if I don't find every girl in the world attractive, I'm a bigot. No, I have personal preferences. There's a certain type of girl that I like, certain hair color, size, build, height, whatever. There's something that I find attractive. That doesn't make me a bigot. And it doesn't make me a bigot just because I'm willing to treat this person and be friends with this person and treat them like anybody else. I just don't agree with them. You can sit there and say, I like peanut butter and I don't. Does that make me a bigot because I don't like peanut butter? No. I just don't like it. You do, I don't. It is what it is. Let's agree to disagree and move on with our lives.
And the sad thing is that there are people out there that see the world that way and other people that way. It's so sad. It really is. Like,
it's so sad.
I really pray for you people out there that are like that, because like you look at things too. I don't know. It's just hard to put into words, man. Really, the way people think like that, dude. I don't know. It's just hard to describe.
Yeah, I mean, people just want justification for everything they do. They just want everybody to think that everything that they do is okay. And it's like, it's okay for people not to agree with what you do. That's okay. You're allowed to have your opinion. Like, you're allowed to think that there's nothing wrong with being gay. You're allowed to think that. This is America. It's freedom of speech. It's freedom of thought. It's freedom of religion. It's freedom of everything. You're allowed to think that. And it's my job to allow you to think that. But it's also your job to allow me to think that it's not okay. It's your job to think anything you want, and it's your job to either be okay with me agreeing or be okay with me disagreeing. And that's what people can't grasp onto. They're not okay with people disagreeing, because when it comes to certain law, and this is where things get foggy, because when it comes to religion, everybody wants, all of a sudden the laws don't matter. But when it comes to actual law, then everything's okay. If somebody murders somebody, we're okay if everybody gets on them and says it's bad and they go to jail and they get punished for doing something bad. We're all okay with it because it's the law. You're not allowed to murder people. It's the law. But if you take that from a standpoint of religion and say, well, I don't think it's okay to murder people because I don't believe in that. That's my religion. My religion says that it's not okay to murder people. Everybody says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you a bigot against murderers? Oh, okay. So now murderers aren't humans. It's not. Oh, so now it's not okay to murder people just because that's what you believe in your fancy dancy white religion. Like, everybody, and that's the whole thing, is like, if, this is a wild out there metaphor, guys, but if being homosexual was illegal from like a federal basis, like a law, people got arrested, went to jail, like, yeah, at some point we would have protests and everything, and it is what it is, but people would be way less upset about it than if you tell them that I just don't believe in it because that's one of the laws of my religion. people get way more spiked and triggered when you say that you don't believe or agree with them based on religion, because they say, well, the religions of your laws don't matter. Well, if I can't determine what's right or wrong based on the law or my religion, or how do I determine what's right or wrong? It's just crazy to sit there and say that I can't ever think anything's wrong with anybody if it's coming from a religion-based standpoint. I have to think everything's correct. The only time I can ever think anything's wrong is if it's against the actual man-made, police-enforced law. I mean, that's just wild.
Yeah. That, and even, even just like, you don't even have to bring religion into it, man. Just personal beliefs, even like, if you don't believe in something that somebody says, fine, fucking shrug it off and move on.
100%.
But there's people out there that just, again, you're allowed to express your opinion, man. I'm more than happy to debate or express feelings and viewpoints with any person in the world, man. I don't care how, Austin, you and I have gone back and forth on things all the time.
100%.
And
yeah, we far from agree on everything.
Yeah, and that's okay, because here we are making a video together, talking about how we see different things, and that's perfectly fine. Like, I just really wish the online world especially would be more open about it.
And we talked about that in the last video that I did with you, talking about everybody who could, because online, I think online, one of the biggest things with online especially is the fact that we now have created this world with the internet where we're allowed to hide behind our screens. Because, like all these people that you're talking about with their Dorito fingers and living in their mom's basement, and they're sitting there and they never say that to anybody's face. Like, never be like, oh, dude, you're a bigot, racist piece of shit. And they never say that to my face. But they'll post it in a YouTube comment. They'll post it on my Facebook. They'll say that because they see me in person. They're like, oh, dude, this dude's gonna punch me in the face. Like, and be like, hey, how's it going, man? Be like, oh, dude, I watch your show. You're awesome, man. Have a good one. And they, they're totally fine. But once they get behind that keyboard, man, they're like, well, he can't hit me now. I'm just gonna go in. Let me tell him something. It's like we've created this world with no accountability. So people have no social fear of anything that they say. They have no social fear because they know that there's no consequence for anything that they say, unless they're like a famous person posting somebody and that ruins their career because they're labeled a racist or something. For the most part, a normal person like me and you just posting comments, there's no consequences for our actions. So we just go wild.
Yeah. I think especially when you're carrying yourself online, I have an image that I want to uphold and I want to obtain. I mean, there are things that I do see online that I heavily disagree with, but I mean, I really don't care to post about it at all, because in case I want to go into an actual educated debate on said topic, in reality, what usually happens is if I comment on that post from that one person, who I may or may not be really close friends with, you usually get that person whose friends agree with the exact same thing, and then once they start hopping in and they start getting the reinforcements coming in the comments of, well, no, fuck you, you're entirely wrong, you're a piece of shit. Boom, you've all of a sudden got 5, 6, 7, 8 different people who are also just as closed about wanting to have an actual healthy debate. And then all of a sudden you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people sharing the shit out of the one comment that you made that wouldn't even be particularly bigoted or anything like that. But you just now all of a sudden shut that out and be like, do not talk to this guy, do not friend him, do not do this, do not do that, because he's a piece of shit. When in reality, I'm just like, look, I don't agree with that person's standpoint, but I'm willing to talk about why I don't agree and why don't you agree with that. And we'll leave it at that, and we'll go our both ways. We'll go our separate ways. You don't even get to go to that point because of just how easily people are triggered online nowadays.
Yeah, and like I said, man, that's just the problem with this is, like I said, there's just a lack of there's the lack of commitment behind open-mindedness, especially on the internet. Just people don't want to hear anything anybody else has to say. They want everything that they say to just be totally correct and have everybody say, yeah, I'm in. versus having anybody say, hey, listen, man, I get what you're saying, but have you ever thought about it this way? And they say, no, I haven't thought about it that way because that doesn't make me feel good. And they just fly off the handle. They're just gone. But at the end of the day, you know, it still comes down to the fact of like, you know, like I said, I've said since I was in kindergarten, I was smarter, I guess, than most people in kindergarten. Because I said from the time I was in kindergarten, we should be teaching common sense in school. We should be teaching common sense. That should be an actual class because you can't survive in life without common sense. And the only thing now, schools are trending in this whole direction of trying to obliterate common sense with all this, well, yeah, you just tell us anything you want and that's what you are and this and that. And they just totally obliterate it. And common sense is really the root of all of this. Because, I mean, even still, people want everything to be equal and everybody to be equal so bad that common sense gets thrown out. Just like with this whole transgender movement and all these cross sexes and all this stuff. Where does it end? Are we going to see, like I remember Joe Rogan talking about this in one of his comedy specials, and he had a perfectly valid point. And I know he got trashed for it online, but he had a perfectly valid point. What are we going to do? Are we going to start allowing these transgender people to compete in the opposite sex sports? I mean, how's that work when you go into boxing and UFC fighting? You got some 235-pound bodybuilder, just jacked, get some transgender surgery and then just beat the living shit out of some woman? Where does common sense come in? Where does common sense go, well, what if he's offended? Well, what if he's offended? I don't care if he's offended. I don't want this girl to die in the ring because she's fighting a full-blown man. Like, this is like I'm talking about that common sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Or like even girls. I think the tallest girl that's ever played in WNBA was like 6'8". I forget her name. She played at Baylor. But she's like one of the only girls in history that could dunk. Well, what happens? LeBron is not one of the biggest players in the NBA by any means. He's 6'8". What happens when you get the Greek freak from Milwaukee who's 7 foot, or Kevin Durant who's 7 foot, and they chop their junk off and become a transgender athlete and go play in the WNBA? How the heck does that work? He's going to go wild and dunk on a bunch of 5'10" girls? I mean, it's just, when does this stop? The common sense factor with some of this stuff. And it's like, you know, fighting sports like UFC are the perfect example of how this doesn't make sense in sports, because we talk about, well, men should never hit women and all this stuff. And obviously they shouldn't. That's a common sense of society. But yet we're going to allow some man to go into the cage just because we don't want to offend him and beat the living shit out of some woman. That's absolutely bonkers to me. That's crazy. Tomfoolery, I say.
Well, here's where the common sense thing goes into all of that, is when you get organizations like the UFC that puts in a policy that says something like, well, based on your birth certificate or based on your DNA.
Yeah, and that is the thing, is the UFC did stop that from happening. But I was talking more on the hypothetical, but that's a good point. They did stop it from happening. Thank God.
Well, I mean, if you let that get to an extreme, now all of a sudden you've got people out there that are just like, well, now fuck the UFC, boycott the UFC, because they're not giving the same opportunity to somebody like that. You know, and you can take it to extremes like that. But, I mean, you know, one thing I like that the NFL has kind of had an open mind to was like female kickers, stuff like that. I think there was this woman that she wanted to be a kicker in the NFL. And
I think she played at Colorado in college. At least I know there was a girl kicker in Colorado in college. And then I don't think she ever got drafted. I think she did some tryouts and stuff because, I mean, to be honest, guys, I'm sorry. Like, if she was really good, she's really good. But she's pretty accurate. She's pretty good. I mean, she was good for a college kicker, but she didn't have the leg to beat out, you know, a lot of the pro kickers like Greg the Leg Zerline, and at that time Janikowski from Oakland, and even Krotowski from New England, and Vinatieri and all these guys. I mean, she wasn't that good where she could beat out a lot of those guys. But yeah, I mean, situations like that, yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, you be open-minded, things like that. But even still, even in a scenario like that, you're still walking in tight waters, because the position is applicable where 100% you could have a woman kicker. I mean, you got soccer players who, women's soccer players that can boot like 60-yard field goals. I mean, they got bombs for legs. But at the same time, it's like, what do you do in the locker room? She's got to dress in a different locker room. She's got to do this. You got this one player who's totally disconnected from the rest of the team, on game day at least, for, 98% of the time, pre and post game, she's disconnected from the team. So it's like, that's tough too. It's like, I wouldn't be against female kickers, but that's even still a whole tough locker room policy and everything to figure out.
Yeah, well, and that sense of burden, because people that go into what you would consider maybe controversial in some eyes, right? Look, if I was a female and I was a great kicker and I wanted to one day dream toward the NFL. Great thing about America is that I could make that dream a reality. I could. Anybody does. Anybody has that right. But it's also the responsibility of the individual to understand that those other things that are coming through. Just like the whole locker room thing. Like, all right, cool. Well, if I want to be in the NFL, and I understand I'm a woman, and I know that the rest of the team is made up of men, I understand that I probably won't be in the same locker room. That's okay. Okay, fine. I could either go back to the hotel room, or if I'm at a home game, I can always just go back to my house and change from there. I stick around for the post game, whether conferences or the hoorahs or whatever. But at that point, I peace out and go home, get changed, and then continue about my work week. Whatever. But it's just that, like, the responsibility does both lie on the individual and whatnot. But I do wish people would have an open mind to some things like that as well, to the point where they can talk about it, right? Because at the end of the day, still, you get people that are still super closed-minded. Well, that's not what the NFL was founded on. No girl up to this point has ever played, and I don't believe that.
And that's the thing with me is, like you said, like I said, I'm super reasonable. You talk about like a kicker or something, you're like, hey, they can do that. It makes sense, It's like, yeah, there's going to be some issues in the locker room. You could probably figure out a way around it and figure it out, but it makes sense. It's rational. The common sense is involved in that. Hey, girls play soccer. They're pretty damn good. There's nothing physical other than hitting the ball. Who says that she can't kick as far as a dude? It fits in common sense. And the only thing that I don't like, which I'm not super against, but a lot of people have been talking about like women coaches in the NFL, because I know like the 49ers have one on their staff right now, which everybody's like, oh, she's a woman coach, which, guys, calm down. She's basically an athletic trainer. Like, she's so far down in the coaching staff, she barely has a coaching staff tag. Like, she literally like puts cones out for drills. Like, she doesn't coach anything. But like, they're like, well, what about girl coaches? And it's like, yeah, girls could coach, but it's like, let's be honest, guys, it's more realistic to have women NBA coaches, because at least they've played basketball. They've played the game. It's really hard. Like, most of the, there are some coaches in the NFL where they've been dudes and they've just studied their whole life and they got into coaching and got lucky. But even those coaches, they usually have problems because all the players are like, what the fuck do you know? You never played. What, you don't know any more than me. Oh, you study a few films and stuff. You don't know what I'm going on, what I'm going through out here. Girls aren't playing football. I know on some high school level there's some girls and stuff that try to play varsity football, but it's like, girls, you're not playing football. It's hard for you. It's hard for me, or just a concept, really, girls coaching. Not that they can't coach. It's just coaching football because they don't play. It's not a girls' sport. So it's hard for me to see girls coaching football because the players aren't going to respect them. They'd be like, well, you didn't play. And I was like that with male coaches, and so it's not a girl thing. It's the fact that you don't play thing. Like, when I had coaches that didn't play, I never respected those coaches. I'm like, dude, you don't know what I'm going through out here. You have no idea what I'm doing. You don't know how hard I've worked to get where I'm at. You have no idea how hard I work on the field. You've never taken a hit and got a concussion and played through it. You have no idea what I'm dealing with out here. So shut up. Don't tell me to, do this or do that, because you have no idea what I'm fighting through out here.
Yeah, but
I think NBA is a lot better seen because they played high school and college and a lot of these things, and to have a woman NBA coach could make sense. I mean, coach is still really tough with the locker rooms and the changing, but at least, once again, from common sense, it could make sense because they understand the game and people are going to respect, their opinion on the game from playing, and they've experienced it.
But here's the moment, Austin, where the moment you put girl and can't in the same exact sentence, no matter
Oh,
what.
here comes the hate mail! The
Nope.
misspelled comments!
No matter what other rational point or rational thinking that you're going to be using behind that thought, you're just immediately
They tuned out as soon as the T hit can't. They tuned out.
Yep.
They tuned out and got to the keyboard.
That's the problem, man. Is the moment you hear those things, there's no reason why. I mean, even looking into the competitive workforce in the workplace, right? You got a woman that's going out for a CFO or a CEO kind of job, and you got, if you're the one woman amongst a pool of 10 candidates that have maybe the same qualifications, you get that one guy that has that one more qualification and he gets the job. It's nothing against the woman. It's looking at the resume of the other guy.
He was more
that was more suited for the job. But no, none of that matters. That company is now sexist. That company,
Yup.
people just eliminate all those other integers and all those factors before some kind of statement like that or result,
100%.
And people like us, give us the time of day. Give us the time of day to explain ourselves and why we think the way that we do before you start slamming all of these accusations around,
100%. Be open-minded. Stop commenting on everything and just, like you said, painting a prejudiced picture of people when you don't even know the person. You have no idea what their views are. You take one comment out of context, and it's not even like kind of out of context. It's always way outside, like 4 states over out of context, and then try to play from there. And it's like, no, like don't do that. I mean, it's like you're taking my one comment. I hit a shot in golf. I put it on the fairway. You picked up my ball, threw it 4 ways over behind a tree, and then you're telling me, oh, dude, nice freaking shot, man. You're like, well, you took my shot and you totally changed it and put it behind a tree. Now you're telling me that I'm so far out of context, and I'm like, it doesn't work. Like, and that's the whole problem. Like I said, it's just the prejudice of people not having open mind and common sense. It just ruins things, and it ruins people's perspective on life, and it really ruins people's opportunities to grow as a person, expand their mind, expand their intellect, and really grow as intellectual human beings. I mean, because that's how we learn. We learn from experiences, whether they be physical, social, that's how we learn as human beings. And people just forget that. They're like, oh, I don't want to learn anything from anybody. I know everything that I need to know already. But that's not true. Nobody knows everything. That's why I listen to everybody. Like, I don't agree with anything about socialism or anything about Bernie Sanders' platform, but I'll still listen to Bernie Sanders just to see what he has to say. What do you have to say, man? Maybe you'll say something that I can agree with or pique my interest or maybe get me to think about something. I'll listen to anybody because I want to hear everybody's opinion, and it's my job as a human to dictate whether I agree with that opinion or not. And if I don't agree with it, it doesn't mean the person's bad. It just means I don't agree with their opinion and move on with my life.
I was about to wrap things up with my final thoughts, and I tell you what, dude, you pretty much nailed it all on the head there. Really, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. But I guess a way to wrap it up is, I've been through conversations that are rather heated. I've been through one-sided arguments. I'm no saint myself. I've slewed out some things that I wish I didn't. We've all done it. We've all been there. But I've always found myself in a much better mood after having just a nice, healthy debate with somebody about something myself nor they may or may not disagree on. And really just remembering the common sense and the golden rule, treat others the way you'd like to be treated, is really, I think, what a lot of people forget about. And I really wish that people would practice that.
Absolutely.
This country is so divided because you've got such a saturation of people nowadays that are able to use these media platforms to shoot down anybody and everybody and just wreck their sense of belonging, that wrecks their, personality, the personal. People get so personal, people online, from seeing other people have a perspective that they may not agree with. And And I just really wish that you just take more of that energy into having an educational debate about any particular topic that you don't agree on. It makes you come out much more educated, much more valued as a person in that other person's eyes as well, when you can potentially open up their perspectives about things. I just really wish people would be more positive, about other people's viewpoints.
Yeah, and that's really, I mean, like you said, I nailed it on the head. You nailed it on the head, because that's really what it is what people forget is the fact that you learn something from everybody, whether you agree with them or not. And the reason for that is not the fact that somebody's going to tell you something that maybe you don't know or you haven't heard before. They certainly could. But the realistic growth in a lot of stuff like this, like if I listen to Bernie Sanders, I'm not really going to grow a whole lot because I don't agree with his viewpoints. I'm not going to grow on new knowledge. I don't agree with his viewpoints. So I'm not going to agree with most of what he's saying. But what's going to happen is I'm going to be contradicting his points in my own mind, saying, well, that's not true because this is why. And I'm going to be almost re-educating myself on a lot of these topics. So whether you agree with somebody or not, you're either going to be educated by what they're saying, or you're going to be educated because you're going to be possibly pulling new information out of your own mind or developing even new perspectives, like you said, to become more educated, sound more educated about your points. Think about new facts with your points. You're going to be pulling new knowledge out of your own brain to really make to make yourself a more educated, well-rounded, sound person. And you're going to continue to give yourself more reasons why you believe what you believe. Even if you debate somebody who you don't agree with, the worst thing that's going to come out of it is you're going to have more reasons from that person of why you believe what you believe. And that's okay. And that's what people forget. That's okay. It's okay to learn by disagreeing. That's fine. I can disagree with you all day long, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be disagreeing with you, and you're going to bring up a point I haven't thought of before, and I may still disagree with that point, but I now have another bullet in my chamber, another piece of ammo to sit there and say, well, this is why I believe what I believe. So the next time I have this conversation, I'm even more educated from my perspective.
Amen. Well, and with that, thanks for having me on tonight, brother. I really appreciated the conversation. So to wrap things up, man, I'll let you do the honors, brother.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, like I said, as always, thanks for coming on, David. We look forward to having you back very, very, very soon. It's always a blast to have you on. Obviously, we always have some good conversations. But that being said, guys, as always, thank you for stopping by and watching another crazy episode of Say What? Barstool Parlay. Raw takes, no apologies. As always, raw takes, no apologies. And guys, like, subscribe, and if you guys want to see us make a video about something, any topic, we do sports, philosophy, religion, anything you guys want, leave it in the comments. Leave it in the comments. Your next comment may be our next parlay video. You never know. And if there's a certain host you want to see us do that topic about, leave your topic and the host you want to see do that topic. And we'll see if we can make it happen. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure notifications are on to see new content coming out. As always, thanks for stopping by, guys. Deuces. Have a good night.